It'd be my pleasure. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me this evening. Thank God it's not my first rodeo. I would have got all nervous and stuff like this with all that went on, but I'm okay, guys. Technology works. So it's my pleasure. I'm going to get Elisa, I'm sorry, to put up. Well, could you put up the auditor's report, the last page?
The last page? Okay.
Yeah. If you see everyone, I've asked.
Yeah, give me a second. I'll get it up.
Okay. While Alyssa's putting up the auditor's report, I just want to mention that it is a clean report. It will be dated today because you're approving the financial statements today at this meeting. And it is a clean report. You know what I mean? Although it's a 3-page, it talks about our responsibility, the board's responsibility, and management's responsibility. And there's no change to that report from the prior year. There we go. And as you can see, the report will be dated July 12th, which is today's meeting. Okay. I'm going to go, Mr. Chair, I'm going to go briefly through the statements. And please feel free to ask me any questions as we go along. Just, I think, to expedite things, I'll try to be as clear as possible. The first thing we're looking at is the balance sheet, which is basically a snapshot and a point in time for the organization. And in your current assets, your cash went down this year, mostly due to you didn't generate as much income in the year because you didn't generate as much power as you did in the prior year. And also we had an actuarial reassessment of your pension plan, and you have a bigger deficit than you've had before. So increasing the expenditure. And if you recall, we had a big variation about 3 years ago to really readjust it. So this happens every time you have a actuarial revaluation of the pension plan. So that's why your cash is low. Your accounts receivable is mostly due from a Hydro One. It's just that it's a little bit lower this year because we had a refund that was receivable last year over and above the normal billing for about $64,000. So, you know what I mean? That combined with a billing number that was lower in December than it was in December 2020, you didn't generate as much power. Your receivables were not as high. So that's why you've got a decrease in that receivable. Your payments in lieu of taxes receivable, that is because you didn't make as much money in the prior year, in this year as the prior year. And you always have to pay installments in the year based on the prior year's payments in lieu of taxes. So if you combine last year's accounts payable for payments in lieu of taxes and this year's balance, it's about how much money, you know what I mean, that is coming back. And other than that, everything else is relatively comparable. If you look at your property, plant, and equipment, you had additions in the year of approximately $232,000 and amortization of 1.6. So that's why you have a slight decrease in the property, plant, and equipment. Okay? Now, if I turn your attention to accounts payable and accrued liabilities, significant increase. One of the reasons, it's basically attributable to both Ontario Power Generation and Hydro ECI. So for Ontario Power Generation, they charged you for 218 cost sharing, which is $126,000. That's sitting in payables at the end of the year. Okay. We also have a payable that's due to Hydro ECI payable, which is for a capital project. And that was in there last year. In total, those two amounts are about $170,000. Okay. There's a mismatch. There's more HST receivable this year because of your capital projects, but overall your accounts payable, the variation is mostly due to Ontario Power Generation and Hydro ECI. Your government remittances are down, but that's mostly because you're getting a receivable from HST versus an amount payable for HST. And your payroll accrual were a little bit less than last year. You're due to Ontario Power Generation. That's existed for some time, and that's a liability for the maintenance and infrastructure of what your share of what's north of us in the dams.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And your current portion of long-term debt is high because your debt, you have one loan that is due in the year, but it will be renegotiated. So, but it just appears high. And that the same thing occurred last year. And as you can see, your retirement and other post-employment future benefits, that's your pension plan. Okay. If you look at your liabilities increased by about $300,000. Okay. Now, when we look at the income statement, you'll see that's a direct charge to expenses in the year. So you'll see a much bigger expenses in salaries for the pension. Okay. And the amount owing to the municipality of West Nipissing is still pretty much comparable to the prior year. Was there any questions on the balance sheet itself? Clear as mud? Okay. Then if Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I will continue.
Yes.
Elisa, can I get you to put on to the statement of income? Now, as you're aware, the real sole source of income that we have in Power Gen is the sale of hydroelectric power from the dam to Hydro One. Okay. And that income number, you have a set contract price established with Hydro One, but it really varies on the production of kilowatt hours that you do. So this year, we had a decrease of about 11 million kilowatt hours. And if you take an average price of 0.1005 per kilowatt hour, if you do the math, it explains quite well why the decrease. So that's what's nice about this revenue stream. It's easily, identifiable.
Councillor Chris?
I'd just like to ask a question on that, if I might. So that decrease in power generation, is that sort of due to circumstances beyond control, such as the amount of water on the river? Is that why, or is that, could you explain how that gets decreased?
Well, I think I would turn, I would have to believe that will vary by the flow of up above,
right,
in the watershed.
Right. So
it might have an impact. Elisa, did we have a turbine that wasn't functioning, or?
No, actually, when we look at, we would consider 2021 a more normal average year, and 2020 was sort of a sort of extra water in 2020. So what we had last year was sort of a more normal water flow, but we didn't have turbines down. We were all good to go. It was just water flow. Yeah.
So
it's an active nature. That's
correct.
Thank you.
Correct. Is that okay, Chris?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. So if I look at most of your expenses, I will only target the ones that have a significant variation. Professional fees, decrease in professional fees. First of all, that is not Baker Tilly. We didn't decide to cut our fees, because if that's what we were charging, well, then I'd be questioning you guys. But at the end of the day, it relates to some engineering fees that were incurred on a project in the year last year, but it didn't recur this year. So that's why you're back to pretty much the same. If you look at your salaries and wages and benefits, look at the increase, okay? But the increase there, you had a 2.5% increase in wages, but your pension adjustment was in excess of $325,000. So therefore, that might not be a current cash expense, but it will eventually be paid out. So that's what happens with actuarial stuff, because we're always based on estimates, and this came up as a new estimate. So basically, if you look at everything in line with everything, if I take into consideration the reduction in the revenue and the increase in the salaries and benefits, it pretty much supports your income for the year, which is $493,000. Okay, and don't forget, in 2020, like Elisa mentioned, we had an unusually high kilowatt year. Okay.
Okay,
So,
Dan,
yeah.
if I may, the pension fund, eventually that will disappear in time, will it?
Pardon?
The pension fund, in time, that will disappear?
Well, it will. The intention was that. My understanding is the municipality already made arrangements so that any new personnel will not be under the old pension plan, but under your pension plan. So it's just a matter of time.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Chris?
Yeah, so in line with that, salaries, wages, and benefits, that's gone from 2021 to 1.57. So I guess in line with what Councillor Millet just asked, that 400,000, is that going to be, that will stay there as a line item, or that's a one-time this year to catch the pension up, or is that going to be a run rate?
It's to adjust to catch the pension up to the unfunded liability it has.
Right.
So
okay,
that's how we
not
count, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay,
So
I'm got it.
so if I can explain, we take a payable balance from one year to the next. Okay. Basically, if your payable balance is increasing, right? That means, okay, your expenses are there. You just haven't paid for it yet. Okay, it's just a timing, really. Okay, and that's why we prepare statements not on a cash basis, but on an accrual basis. Yes, Chris.
Sorry, just to follow up with that, just so I'm clear. So basically, all things being equal, that line item, salaries, wages, and benefits should drop slightly next year.
Yes, it should. It
Okay,
should
thank
go
you.
back. It should go back to approximately 1.2 to 1.3.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Councillor Dan? You're on mute. You're on mute, Councillor Dan.
Thank you. So Dan, that would mean that that pension fund that we have fluctuates with the market then, right?
Yes, it does.
So then if it's accrued, you're just basing on the market, and you're saying that it's at a deficit, and that's why you had to put in more money this year, the 400.
Yeah.
So if the market goes wacky again next year, we could find ourselves in the same position, right?
Yeah, you could, what happens with the pension plan, if you've noticed, if you go over a period of about 10 years, every time we've had a revaluation, you know what I mean? If you have a revaluation and the market's good and your liability stays the same, well, you benefit, right? But unfortunately, the way the pension plan is set up, which is a good thing, you're in a bond environment. And right now, the way the markets are, the bond environment is not great, but it's not risky like the stock market. So basically, it's more secure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Wow, I'm impressed, guys. Those were pretty darn good questions, I must admit. The only other thing I'd like to share with you is the audit really went well. I'd like to thank Elisa and her staff for the assistance they gave us. And we do have an audit findings report, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't plan on going through it. I believe you have a copy, but
Yeah.
it's just my standard report that says, you know, we didn't have any disagreement with management. We didn't have any major, you know, like adjustments to make. The only thing we do is we rely heavily on the actuaries. And, you know, we rely on their report because we don't, you know, for their specialized knowledge. And so as a result, there's nothing significant in the year other than having an updated actuarial valuation. And we didn't have any disagreements. We didn't encounter any issues during the audit, and it went very smoothly. And with that, I'd like to thank again Elisa and her staff for the excellent work they did. All right.
Madam Mayor?
Just a comment, with the expansion, with the replacement of new turbines, the project, there was an investment of approximately 20,000 million for this project. But if I read correctly, the installments that are to be covered over the next 5 years, is it fair to say that within 5 to 7 years, the investment done towards this project is going to be paid off?
Very good question. Let me just check my notes.
I can start while you're looking.
Thank you.
So yeah, we have two separate loans, one for the first expansion that we did 10 years ago now, I guess, and one for the expansion that just finished. And so the expansion that we just finished, the loan is due to be paid out before our contract ends, and our contract ends in 2030. The first one runs just past our contract end date, but yeah, so that whatever happens past this contract, our loans are done and covered and things like that. So yes, within about the next 8 years, it's all going to be cleared up.
Yeah, because the way I see it, I see that the bigger term loan, that the second loan that Elisa you were mentioning, it matures on December 3rd, 2029. So that's quite accurate, actually. Madame la Mairesse?
Okay, and the reason I bring it up, because it's really a good news story, because at the end of the day, with power gen, the municipality is still receiving revenues from that corporation that goes back to the municipal coffer. And at the same time, we have basically renovated nearly, I believe, all turbines to make the plant more efficient and to ensure the sustainability of the plant for many years ahead.
Thank you. Councillor Dan?
That was going to be a question I was going to ask to Elisa. Ms. Craddock, so is it true what the mayor just basically said, that we're finished with all the different constructions and that we're running at full speed and we don't have to do any more expanding the turbines?
Yes,
Replace the turbines.
we've replaced 5 of
I'm
the
not, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Elisa?
through you, Mr. Chair. We've replaced 5 of the 6 turbines over the last 2 projects. There is a 6th turbine that we actually just have off, kind of offline right now. And the reason that it's offline, and it still is an old one, and it's a great big one, and it's just a really cool beast. Actually, it's a neat turbine. But the reason it's off is actually we've hit our max capacity with the province. So we are actually talking to them about upping our capacity. with them. And then there is all kinds of, whether this contract, next contract, things like that. But yeah, so 5 of the 6 have been replaced. The 6 is actually offline simply because we can't sell it back in, and we don't have the nameplate production value on our facility to produce more energy.
Oh, thank you very much, Mrs. Craddock.
Yeah, Councillor Chris?
So just a general question, just to make sure I've got my head wrapped around it properly. So unlike municipal assets, where I suppose it's to do with, we're not allowed to go into debt and this, that, and the other, where we have reserves for upkeep and things like that. When it comes to the dam, the power generation, we have more flexibility to use long-term debt, and so we don't put money into reserves, and can you just speak to that to me, just clear me up on I think that's for Elisa.
So I might do a bit of a tag team with Mr. Longlad. So yeah, the reserve process is not the same. We absolutely have long-term planning. We absolutely look at what our capital requirements are. Mr. Corello, the manager down at PowerGen, we still have a lot of capital work, but the big things with these turbine projects right now is, and I'm going to use these like they're small numbers, $750,000 on dam repairs this year, and $300,000 on this. He always talks big numbers. He likes to do that, but it all just part of a longer term plan that we fund from year to year with capital dollars for them.
Thank you.
If I may add to, it is a power generation, although an enterprise of the municipality, is still a profit generating organization that actually pays the equivalent of income taxes. And basically in that regime, the concepts of reserves are only there for certain types of transactions. And it's usually not a tool used for commercial enterprises. Commercial enterprises do what Elisa was saying, do planning, do long-term planning with budgets to determine, right? Because they're hoping that future cash flow is going to pay for this. You know what I mean? Unlike, the way the municipality may function. And that's simplified, I know. Okay?
Yeah, thank you very much. That answers my question.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, you had your hand up?
Well, I did. I wanted to basically maybe not as sophisticated as our auditor, but I wanted to make reference to that, making the distinction, and that within the budget, there is an amount of money which is dedicated, for the maintenance and the operation, which is basically a guarantee to reinvest where it's needed.
Correct.
Councillor,
true.
You had a question?
I just want to make sure that it's true, what Madam Mayor said.
Mhm.
Before, I want to be in advance this time, that Mr. Dan asking if it was true or not true, which
Could
was
you
saying-
repeat then that, Madame la Mayoress?
Word
No,
for word, I'm just
No,
gonna say-
just give me the gist.
Yeah, I was just saying that based on the corporation, the distinction between the corporation and the municipality is that we do set money aside yearly for the operation and the maintenance to ensure that whatever is required to keep the facility functionable and operationable.
Are you talking about power gen?
Yes,
Yeah, well, that's like any enterprise will
Yeah.
have to do that. The only difference between power gen and a municipality is basically you come up with an expenditure level, and then you go get the revenue, right?
Mhm.
Whereas in a power gen environment, you're going to get the dollars from the kilowatts. That's
Mhm.
what's limiting you. Your contract with Hydro One is limiting the level of revenues you can generate. Okay? And that's just because of the competitive environment, for-profit organizations operate in, right? It's the market forces.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I was just, no, I don't have a problem. I was just, making.
No,
the-
and we could,
Trying
it
to
can
make
be
the-
reiterated in various
Yeah.
ways, but you're not wrong.
That's right.
And by the way, I was just saying that as a statement because I knew what you were saying was okay.
It's good.
Okay,
Please.
Councilor Larrabee?
No problem. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, well, it was just, I guess, a word of advice or a comment on the sixth generation, sixth turbine that was not upgraded. I think as soon as we get the chance, we should. For any reasons of if we have the water flow, we don't have the capacity to put it in the grid at this time with the government. But if one was to go down for some reason or another, we could always depend on it. And if we ever get to convince the government to give us more capacity to put in the grid, it would be done, since it's a very good project and we have good employees and staff working on it. I think this would be a good time to look at it. This is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Chris?
So, yeah, so I have heard kilowatts and things being thrown around. I'm just wondering if somebody can sort of give me a real world number on say the amount of households that the dam actually is supporting. And like, does it basically support half of West Nipissing, or not West Nipissing? I mean, I'm going to assume a lot of it goes to Sturgeon, but what kind of as a real world number that everybody could understand? How many households would that equate to approximately? If anyone can answer that.
We don't. Alyssa?
I actually don't have that number for you. I could talk to Mr. Corello. He can kind of spit that stuff back as far as, and, you know, we don't sell directly into, you know, directly to the residents here. It goes out to the issue. But yeah, I could get him to say, yeah, this represents, you know, X number of houses for the year, and yeah.
That would be an interesting figure to have, and something everyone would digest.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions, Madam Mayor?
Just a final comment, Dan, with other boards that we sit on, sometimes you meet with the board of director to have a signed management letter. Maybe throughout the years, the term has changed. Why is it different with this corporation? Why are we not approached by you, same as other boards, and given an overview of exactly the audit principles, and then signing this management letter, and then at a
pretty much, I'm giving you everything I usually do for the municipality or any other enterprise. I don't issue you a management letter. If the only time I'll issue a management letter if there's areas we need to improve on. And with power gen, we have never, you know, the system is pretty, how would you say, streamlined. It's been in operation for a long time, and the controls are in place. So what I do provide you, and I didn't go in detail, Madame Namaya, but we go through our audit findings report that gives you a lot more detail of what we've had. But this is pretty much what I present, with the exception when I present to the municipal council and the municipality, I'm able to compare information, you know what I mean, that is available about other municipalities to improve the understanding and the performance of the organization. Unfortunately, we do not have this at our disposal, but it'd be interesting to see, Elisa, if we can get that information from Mr. Karelko.
Yeah, I don't know how much we could get. There are actually a few other municipalities that are similar to us, that they have kind of power dams associated.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll certainly find out. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Madame Namiadas?
Yes and no. Sorry.
Okay, let's try to make it better then.
Yeah. Well, I know the management letter is presented, you know, when there's issues, you know, that need improvement. But like I said, two other boards, like Au Chateau and non-for-profit housing, we were presented with a document to be approved by you. And subsequently, then we got the financial statements. And it wasn't a document for improvement. So that's why I was saying maybe it's not a management letter, maybe it's called something different.
I don't know. I'm not, what I recall, if I take the Chateau saying nonprofit, basically just occurred. Basically what I get them, the difference is, first of all, is we circulate the balance sheet so that we can get signatures on the balance sheet, but also it's a municipal reporting. PowerGen is not a municipal reporting enterprise. It's a private enterprise. So the reporting's different. So you notice there's no attestation from management at the beginning of the report. So it's a lot different from a nonprofit or the Chateau. And therefore the information provided to you, like for instance, when you look at the Chateau, we have special forms that have to be given to the ministry that we have to sign off on. We don't have anything like that in this organization, okay? Whereas the only thing we file is a corporate tax return.
Okay.
So it's different, okay? Does that clarify a bit?
No, it clearly explains the distinction.
Okay. Yeah, I worry there because I know my mom's listening up there and going, you know, I hope you're explaining things properly.
Now, it's clear. Thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
Thank you very much, Dan. You've done a damn good job.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure presenting to you guys. And you know, I was just joking around. You didn't really get me all nervous there when you were having IT problems. I've had those myself. That's why I got Madame Elisa to take care of the of my side, so I wouldn't screw it up. So, thank you very much.
Okay, now we have to approve the financial statements to you, Alyssa. We need a mover and a seconder to approve. We have a motion? Alyssa?
Yes, we've got a motion. Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Chris and Councillor Larrabee, second Councillor Larrabee to approve the financial statement. Can you read it, please?
Yep. Whereas at the West Nipissing Power Generation meeting held on July 12, 2022, Baker Tilly presented the audited financial statements for West Nipissing Power Gen Ltd. For the fiscal year ending on December 31st, 2021. Be it resolved that the audited financial statements for West Nipissing Power Generation Ltd. For the fiscal year 2021 be approved as presented.
All in favor?
Question, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Are we going to be posting the financial statements on the municipal website? Do we make them public? I know it's a private enterprise, but still it's owned by the municipality.
I don't know that we usually do, but once they're finalized, I don't know that we've got any difficulty with posting it. So once they're finalized, we get the package back. Yeah, we can put them up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I, as the auditor, have no issues with that.
so we're all in favor? Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Well, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. It was really great. Looking forward to seeing you again. And enjoy the rest of your meeting and have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you very much.
Take care, guys.
Okay,
Bye, Dan.
so we'll go to new business. Need a mover and a seconder to adopt the previous minutes. Councillor Chris, Councillor Dan. Alyssa?
Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting of West Nipissing Power Generation Ltd. Held on July 13th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
All in favor? Carried. 3.2, approve distribution of 2021 dividends. Somebody down there can, I can't see your hand if you want to move. I'm not sure. Need a mover and seconder, Madam Mayor Joanne and Councillor Chris.
Be it resolved that the distribution of dividends in the amount of $420,000 for the year 2021 be approved.
All in favor? Carried. 3.3, approve 2022 administration and managers fees. Mover and seconder. Councillor Chris, Councillor Rowley.
Be it resolved that the management and administration fees in the amount of $88,000 for the year 2022 be approved.
All in favor? Carried. Moving a seconder to adjourn. Councillor Chris and Councillor Rhodes.
Be it resolved that the meeting of West Nipissing Power Generation Ltd. held on July 12th, 2022 be adjourned.
All in favor? Adjourn. Thank you.
See you
Just
all
a quick,
shortly.
just a quick question. Do we have a different log on for the meeting that do I have to go out and
Yeah, do we leave or come back?
come back on a different Zoom?
Nope, same link. So you can just close your
Just
screens
this?
and stay here. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bon, t'avais pas emmené du café à tout le monde?
Hein?
T'avais pas emmené du café à tout le monde?
Ouais, j'ai pensé à ça, mais j'étais assez en retard, là. Faudrait que je me dépêche. Excuse. J'ai pensé à toi toute la temps que j'ai acheté. T'excuses.
En l'air?
Hein?
Vas-tu prendre l'air?
Non. Après, je vais dire.
Vas-tu prendre l'air?